Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we have a very serious episode for you guys that I want you guys to stick around for. So please make sure you go and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, this is a very serious episode for me here, and I got a lot that I want to say, so please bear with me. Now, as y'all know, Nick Wright recently released his top 50 players of all time. And that list caused a lot of controversy, which I personally believe that it was intended to do. I believe that was the fundamental reason that that list was created. Now, as I was doing some research this morning, looking for content to prepare before we go on vacation, because God, the Lord knows we need a break, I realized that there was some incongruities with some of what Nick Wright had to say as it pertains to the GOAT argument and with his top 5 or top 10 rankings. Now, what we want to do is I want to quickly give you guys a refresher of Nick Wright's current top 5 players of all time in order. Number 1, he has LeBron James. Number 2, he has Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Number 3, he has Michael Jordan. Number 4, he has Magic Johnson. And at number 5, he has Tim Duncan. And for those of you who are wondering why is Bill Russell not there, it's the top 50 players in the last 50 years. And Bill Russell stopped playing, I believe it was in 69. No, or if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember the year, but it's not in the last 50 years. So he wouldn't make the list. So some of you will hear that and say, okay, good enough, fair enough. That's his list. Fine. I don't see the issue. But then I stumbled upon a video of him from March 2020, not 2002, not 2005, not 2010, March 2020, where he was giving his ranking of the top 5 players just 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And he was reacting to the top 5 players of all time of Jason Tatum. And he said some very interesting things that gave me cause to pause after I heard it and I juxtaposed it with what I know now. But before we get into that audio, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura, by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to play Nick's comments. It's only about a minute long, the video. This is from 2020. You can go hunt this information down. It's out there, March 2020 on First Things First. We want to play what he had to say, and then we're going to come back and unpack it. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Listen, Tatum almost got this exactly right, and Bird shouldn't be on it. Bird is obviously the 9th greatest player ever, and Kobe is close. Kobe's is one wrong one, and with all due respect, late great Kobe Bryant, he's the 8th greatest player ever. What he has right there is the best player ever, LeBron, the 2nd best player ever, Jordan, the 3rd best player ever, Kareem, and the 4th best player ever, Magic. So he got 1 through 4, but he is missing a Celtic. Can these kids put some respect on Bill Russell's name, please? 11 titles in 13 years, 21-0 in winner-take-all games throughout his career, 21-0. Game 7s of the NBA Finals. Does a 30-point-40 rebound effort do anything for you? What about a 25-point-32 rebound effort? What about a 22-point-35 rebound effort? Bill Russell's your 5th greatest player ever and your winningest player in any sport of all time. He should have been on the list. And then it gets a little more complex after that. Tim Duncan is right on the outside looking in. Oscar Robertson, do you want me to keep going? Hakeem and Shaq, they're 12 and 13. Moses Malone's 14. Jerry West is 10. I just gave you the top 14 players of all time. 15's debatable, though. There's some people say Dirk. Some people say Wade. Some people say, what about Dr. J? Kevin Durant's like, what about me? We'll do more on this later.
So let's just run through the facts for a moment. And I'm going to tell you guys why we decided to title the video the way we did. Back in 2020, Nick Wright said that Larry Bird was the 9th greatest player of all time. I want you guys to follow that. That's a bit of information, number 1. Number 2, he said Kobe Bryant was the 8th greatest player of all time. That's number 2. He then had LeBron at number 1. Now, here's where it gets tricky. He had Jordan at number 2. And he had Kareem at number 3. And of course, he had Magic at number 4. Here's a question to the audience, because people like to say, oh, well, maybe he changed his mind. Here's a question to the audience. How did Michael Jordan go from number 2, which is already absolutely ridiculous, but let's just go along. How did Michael Jordan go from number 2 to number 3 in a 2-year span when Michael Jordan retired 20 years ago? How did Kareem go from number 3 to number 2 in the last 2 years when Kareem hasn't played for just as long? How did Kareem go up on that list? How did Kareem move up, and how did Jordan? What happened in the last 2 years? What new set of evidence came out that made you say, you know what? Jordan deserves to be ranked one spot lower, and Kareem needs to be ranked 1 spot higher. These guys have been retired. So what new information do you have? That's number 1. Number 2, I believe that this is hardcore evidence that proves that Nick Wright is only saying things to benefit LeBron James, man. That is what I 100% believe with my entire being. I don't believe Nick Wright believes a single word that he's saying. Not a single bleeping word. His whole shtick is finding ways to discredit other players just to elevate LeBron. Because if you listen to his list, we're now talking about a 2-year window. Whose top 10 reshuffles like that in a 2-year window? And why is it that your top 10 is only benefiting 1 player? How is that possible? How is it possible that in 2011, after LeBron lost in the 2011 finals, Nick Wright said LeBron is barely a top 10 player. And from the span of 2012 to 2016, not only did he make it into the top 10, but he became the greatest player of all time in 2016. What? That's what he said. How does that happen? Why all of a sudden the sudden change of heart, Nick? What new information do you have? That's another point. And finally, let me say this. If Nick Wright felt so strongly about this all-time scoring record, if he felt so strongly about it, why is he only mentioning its importance when LeBron is getting closer to shattering it, to breaking it? Why is it only becoming important all of a sudden now? Why is it only important all of a sudden now? I'm going through his top 10. You know the guy that was number 2 in all-time scoring before LeBron, Karl Malone? Do you know he has Karl Malone ranked number 17 of all time? If it was so important to you, why was Kareem not ranked number 2 in 2020? How did he drop down to number 3? How did the guy in Michael Jordan that you believe was the second greatest player of all time in 2020, all of a sudden dropped to number 3. Why are you saying this? What's causing you to say? Who's making you say this? Listen, in my honest opinion, Nick Wright, I don't believes a single word that he's saying. I think he's just up there talking, and he's just up there playing a role to sell a narrative. This is what I honestly believe. You know why? Because none of this information is coherent. None of it is coherent. So these are my thoughts and opinions on this. I'm not taking back a single word that I said. I'll be willing to debate anybody on this, including Nick Wright. Y'all be thinking this dude is some type of, genius here. I don't think so. He uses a lot of big words to say a lot of silly things. So to me, you need to explain why these guys are moving around so much, and how the hell did Jordan go from number 2 all time to number 3 in a span of 2 years? What new information do you have that causes you to say that? What new information? How was Jordan the greatest player of all time? This is what I'm talking. How was Jordan the greatest player of all time in 2011 when you put out that tweet on Twitter? And now Jordan moved to number 3. What is going on? Excuse me, number 2. Then he moved to number 3. What is going on, Nick? How do you explain that? What explanation do you have, Nick? What's the explanation? What big word do you have to explain this? Please, let me hear it. I'll be curious to hear the supporters, because to me, this makes no sense. So these are my thoughts and opinions. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We catch you all on the next episode. Peace.